Hello, Darklings, Lightlings, Hybrids, everyone in between. How are you today? If you're joining me again, welcome back. Great to see ya. And if you're new here, what's up? Hit subscribe, like, do all that cool stuff. We're going to continue on our Norse mythology today and the different realms, but it's going to be about the elves. And also, toward the end of the video, I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with the elves in my magical practice. Hope you enjoy. Known for their magical and incredible abilities and wonderful beauty, elves play a huge role in Norse mythology. In fact, Tolkien used Norse names and elves from Norse mythology as inspiration for his popular work in the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit series. The elves were divided into two separate groups in the Norse world, and they had a separate realm included in the 9 Norse worlds. The dark elves, called Dorhofor, and light elves, Ljósafur. The light elves lived in Elfheim, or Elfheimr, between heaven and earth. The Norse would sacrifice or leave offerings or pray to the elves for help in healing sickness and other things. They were seen as demigods or lesser deities. The light elves were said to have unmatched beauty and loved humans, helping them in even conceiving children hybrids. These children looked like humans, but were usually very chiseled in their features and very beautiful, and were prominent with powers or psychic abilities. The dark elves, or the Dohofor, depicted with dark skin and dark hair, unlike their pale counterpart with usually white hair or red hair. They live in the inner earth, called Svartalheim, translated to Home of the Black Elves. They were known for their magic powers and created magical items and weapons. After Christianity's influence, the lore became fairy tales widespread, or they became angels and demons. But the worship of elves and their lore lasted for centuries throughout Europe, which merged the elves into the Fae and Fae folklore in Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. The Germanic people used to worship them around the same time that the Norse did as well. The Scottish, English, Irish believed that they were trickster nature spirits and did both good and bad deeds, stealing children and replacing them with a changeling child, or messing with their sleep and stealing livestock on farms. In Icelandic lore, they are called Holdurfor, translated to the hidden people. These beings were described similar to the humans in looks and behavior, but lived in a magical realm. Humans could not see. They aged very slowly and have wisdom far greater than humans could accumulate. They could be temperamental if offended, but they love to work with vibrations, singing and dancing. If you take food or hospitality from them in lore, you cannot return to the human world unless you have elven blood. So now I'm going to tell you guys a bit about some of my experiences in what I believe to be the elven race. I do believe, personally, from experiences I've had, that it is somewhere in my family's DNA. 2 years ago, I was brought to the inner earth for the first time and met the elves that are pale with white hair. Their leader is a beautiful elven queen called Ka. She has given me food and a weird drink over time in my visits. I was always able to return to my world. The night before my mom passed also, Ka lit up my chest center with magic and light to help me heal. After my mom, I was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome, and I feel like that encounter with her, it was her way of helping me with her healing light to get through it. Recently, I had a different experience with the darker elves, and they were the dark-haired ones as well. In a very unusual world, there was a lot of water in a strange city, and they wore diamonds in their hair, and it was very intricately done. And they also wore like armor and had weapons like bows and arrows and swords. I've begun to bond with the Ka group in the Inner Earth more so, and have way more experiences with them that I remember. They have a complicated yet a beautiful honeycombed stone structures chiseled very intricately with balconies and pillars, and the water is so clear there, and crystals grow on the water banks. There is a giant waterfall that flows over a huge, beautiful bridge that goes in between mountains as well. And on the mountains, it's very lush greenery with also a bunch of other colors of plants that I've never seen before and I can't identify. A giant ancient tree stands in the middle of their courtyard, where I have seen them gather to chant and raise vibrations in unison as a collective to help the earth. They were all, literally, all these beings were sitting together in this gorgeous courtyard. It's so like enchanting. I definitely got that fantastical element in that atmosphere. You just feel it in every part of your being that it is highly magical. And there is so much love in the vibration. In my activation dream, before I actually had my first Inner Earth experience, I saw a white-haired lady in that dream with a golden locket and very pale. Mountains were behind her in the scenery, and she told me that I came from those who dwell within the mountains, and I was activated. I was also told by Ka that during one of my encounters that some of my ancestors had copulated with their race from the Inner Earth. My Norse download of when I was a sacrifice kind of started all of this in the middle of probably 2020. And it led me on a journey about my ancestry and such. I knew I had the Native American on my biological father's side, and then I had the Irish on my mother's father's side. Now, my mother's mom's side, her grandparents immigrated from Sweden and Denmark, which I did not know, and I found that really interesting, and that our last name, Haskell, it used to be Asko, and I had a expert kind of tell in old names tell me it meant some reference to the ash tree. So I thought that was really cool. So that's kind of where the elven race originated, as far as we know, was like Icelandic, Norse mythology, and old Germanic paganism. So I've had many experiences over the last 2 years leading me to believe that this is somewhere heavily in my DNA. Also in my children's traits and characteristics, even some of the looks of some of my children also, to me, are very telling. So what do you guys think about elves? Cool? So we will be getting into the giants and their realm, and then we'll be getting into the gods. I'll probably talk about the gods before I do Asgard, so that you can get an idea of who the Vanir and the Asir is, and kind of know the gods a bit better before we talk about them and Asgard. And also keep an eye out for the creatures of Norse mythology video I'll be doing to elaborate more on different creatures in that lore. And don't forget, guys, Destiny Bloodline Sagas is out, and the audiobook's coming soon. You can find the ebook or paperback on Amazon. Much love.